the things that Paizo, the company who writes and produces the Pathfinder and Starfinder role-playing games, one of the things they've done really, really well with Starfinder since its release is that they've supported it with a lot of great products. The only problem is that they've supported it with a lot of really great products. And if you're new to tabletop role-playing games, or even if you're a tabletop vet looking to kind of make a jump over to Starfinder, it can kind of be a lot to take in. So what I wanted to do today was come up with a bit of a Starfinder buyer's guide where we're going to walk through all of these products. That way you guys can see what the basic minimum of what you need to play, what some of the products are that have a really good value that can add to your overall gaming experience are, and what some of the products that might kind of fall into that category of nice to have, maybe even skip. So we're going to talk about all that today. I hope you're ready. Let's get started. Welcome, adventurers. What's going on, guys? My name is Cody. This is Taking 20, a channel about all things role-playing games. And as you guys can tell, today we are talking about Starfinder and some of their product line. So before we jump into this video and really get cracking at what I recommend and what you absolutely need to play, I want to give a huge thank you to my sponsor for this video, Miniature Market. If you guys have been following the channel for a while, you'll know that I love working with Miniature Market, and everything that you guys see here was either provided by Miniature Market for this particular video, or things that I personally have purchased, and all of it came from Miniature Market. And I think that's one of the reasons why I like working with Miniature Market so much, is because I genuinely use them for my personal products, and that's why I can recommend them honestly to gamers out there, because their prices are amazing, guys. Their selection is unbelievable. And by the way, I've had to use their customer service now a couple times, and they are absolutely top notch. So a big thank you to Miniature Market for helping me make this video possible. And if you guys haven't checked out Miniature Market, I'm gonna put some links down in the description below. Go check them out. Tell them Taking 20 sent you, and yeah, you won't be sorry. I promise. All right. Now, let's talk about the products that we see here. So what we're going to do today is we're going to break things down into three categories. The first category I'm going to call the bare bones category. This is stuff that might be, it might be a little bit more than what you actually need to play the game, but it's still stuff that I absolutely recommend you have, especially if you're going to be playing Starfinder for any, Pathfinder there, playing Starfinder for any length of time. So that's going to be the bare bones category. Now the next category is what I'm going to call the high value category. These are products that I think are going to have a good bang for your buck. They're going to be actually useful at the table. And, overall, they're going to, I think, improve the experience you have when you sit down with your friends to play a little bit of Starfinder. So that's going to be the high value category. And then finally, the last category is the kind of nice to have category. These are products that I may or may not recommend at all, but if you see one of these products and you know, hey, I really, really want that product, I've had my eye on it for a while, then hey, listen, I totally get that. We all have stuff like that that we want to make those purchases for. So those are products that I think are more geared for people who know for a fact that they really, really want them or want to use them. But it's not stuff that I would necessarily recommend to absolutely everybody that wants to jump in and play some Starfinder. Okay, so let's start off with the bare bones category. So the first thing that you're going to need to play Starfinder is the core rulebook. Whoops, almost dropped it there. So Paizo does a wonderful job by providing the core rules of the game online. Okay, it's really, really nice that they provide that online for free. But ultimately, if you're going to be playing Starfinder for any length of time, I highly, highly, highly recommend that everybody at the table have a core rulebook. Now, if you don't want to make that type of investment that, with a typical table of one game master and 4 to 5 other people at the table, not everybody wants to have a book, then I at least recommend having 3 of these at every table. You need one for the game master at all times, so that anytime they feel like they want to stop and look something up while a player's talking, they can pull something up for something that's going on that they're thinking about doing, or maybe a ruling that they know is about to be a question. So I think that the game master always needs to have one of these. And then in addition to that, I think you can get by on a 4 to 5 person, 4 to 5 players at a table. I think you can get by with 2 floating copies that kind of, that everybody, you know, can kind of pass around. But in reality, if you're gonna play Starfinder for a long time, if you're gonna jump in and do Starfinder Society, I highly, highly, highly recommend that you pick up your own copy of the core rulebook. There's only so far that the free rules will get you at the table in that moment of playing. So you absolutely need this. Now, if you're coming from another gaming system, specifically for you Dungeons & Dragons 5e players out there, I want to let you guys know that the core rulebook here has both information for all of the players, so it's going to have all your classes, your races, it's going to talk about starship combat, building starships out, it's going to have all your spells, all your feats, everything like that players will need will be in here. It also has some basic information for game masters. I think it has 2 chapters specifically that are pretty healthy for helping you run the game. 1 chapter specifically on game mastering, and there's another chapter in here to give you the basic idea of the setting and some of the worlds here in the kind of core setting for the game. So you'll notice that if you come from Dungeons & Dragons, specifically in that game, that with Starfinder and even with Pathfinder, you don't need both a player's handbook and a Dungeon Master Guide. They actually just offer everything in 1 book. It's a little bit bigger, and you get everything that you need to run the game, both from a player and a GM standpoint, all right here. Okay. So the next thing you need in the bare bones category is very, very simple. You need some dice. Now, I love dice. I love dice. So I have a whole bunch of dice, but I specifically have the Q Workshop dice with kind of the Starfinder branding. These are really, really cool, but you don't have to buy these to play Starfinder. If you're new to role-playing games, any set of dice will work. Typically, you can pick up a set of dice from, you know, $5 to $10, depending on how fancy you want to get. I think these are around maybe like 13-ish, 14-ish, maybe right in there, that range. So if you want to spend a couple extra bucks and just get the nice theme set, cool. But otherwise, you know, you don't have to do this. Also, if you're new to the game, I can almost all but guarantee you that somebody else at the table will have another set of dice that will help you you know, you can borrow some dice if you need to. But you do, like the core rulebook, want to get your own set of dice, whether they are the Starfinder Q Workshop branded ones or just a Chessex set or something else like that in general. Okay, now the last thing that you're going to need if you are running the game, and that is being the game master, is that you're going to want a copy of the Alien Archive. So here's the deal. You can probably get away without having this book if you are going to run like an adventure path or something along those lines. But the reality is if you're going to be playing for any length of time and you yourself are going to be running the games, then you're going to want to get your hand on the Alien Archive, okay? It's not a hugely thick book like some of the books have been in the past, but this is going to give you a nice section of monsters and different creatures and stuff like that for you to throw at your players. And if you're going to be, like I said, running games for any length of time, even though you can get by, you're going to want this or a copy of this book. Just trust me on that. So that is going to be the last product in our bare bones categories. So if you're a player, what you need is you need a core rulebook and some dice. And if you're going to be the game master, you need a core rulebook, some dice, and you're going to want a copy of the Alien Archive. Okay guys, so let's talk about the high value category. Again, these are things that are gonna have a good bang for your buck. They're gonna really add to your game. I think that they are actually useful at the table, and they're the next products that I recommend after the bare bones. If you're looking for something else to help enhance your game, you're enjoying playing Starfinder, this is the next category up. Now, most of these, everything that you're gonna see here from here on out is geared towards game masters, okay? So if you're a player, again, all you need is that bare bones book, a set of dice, pen and paper, you're good to go. Now, to kick off our high value category, the first thing I have here is the GM screen. So let's throw the cover away real quick. And the GM screen for Starfinder is really nice. I love the artwork in Starfinder. It's one thing that I think Paizo really excels at is their artwork and their artists that they work with. They have a really good vision for their products. But more importantly than that for game masters is the GM screen has a lot of really useful info. So the 4 panels that you're going to get here are going to be skills. It's really a good panel. The environment's kind of a nice panel. Whenever you need it, you'll be glad you have it. The next panel is combat. The combat panel is really, really good. It's got all your actions, it's got all your conditions, it talks about cover and concealment, and it has all that information right there in front of you. It's a really, really good panel. And then finally we have the last panel, which is Starship Combat. And this, it's not going to give you all the information you need right in front of you to run Starship Combat, but it's going to give you a lot of the basics, and it's going to talk about the firing and shield arcs, and then it also has some of the tables here. So again, I can tell you right now, it's not going to have everything that you're going to want it to have, but for the amount of space that they had, they put really good information on here. So the next product after the bare bones that I recommend is, in fact, the GM screen. I think it's a good investment if you are running a lot of Starfinder games. So that is the first product that I would recommend you pick up after the bare bones. Okay, so the next thing that we have is we kind of have two different directions here. We have both the adventure paths and then we have the pawns. I'm going to talk a little bit about the adventure paths first. So what you see here, these 3 books, these are what we call an adventure path. So if you guys are familiar with Pathfinder, Paizo's first product, main product line here, these work exactly the same way. Now, I'm going to make a quick little note here because this video will be up and probably some people will come across this video years from now. The way that the adventure paths work is they are a pre-written adventure for your campaign. Okay, they have everything you need inside here to run your games. Okay, it's got story, it's got NPCs, it has stat blocks, it lays everything out for you. So, and the way that they do this is that they do this in, they at least have been doing this, is in these 6 book increments. So the first book, Incident at Absalom Station, this is all part of their main arc. So all 3 of these go to the same story called Dead Sons. Okay. Later, if you're watching this video 2 or 3 years from now, they may have 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 different adventure paths out there, depending on when you're watching it. So you don't have to get just these books, if you understand what I'm saying. Okay, so the first book, Incident at Absalom Station, that is going to be for your level 1. And then after that, book number 2, Temple of the 12. This starts at level 3, if I believe, if I remember correctly. And then right now, they've released the 3rd one so far. This is Splintered Worlds. And again, this is all part of the same continuing story. Now, also real quick, Paizo has just mentioned in the last 2 weeks, I believe, that they are looking at playing around with their formatting. So again, in the past, they've always been 6 books. They take you from generally level 1 to maybe around 15 to 18, depending on the adventure. And Paizo has just mentioned that they're interested in playing around with that formatting. So these 6 books might be compressed into 3 books. They might come out in 1 book in the future. Who knows? But that's what an adventure path is. Now, as far as a quick review of these products and why I think that they're so great, first off, Starfinder is a big, crunchy system. And so while you're trying to soak up the rules, I have loved Dead Sons so far, what we've played. You get everything that you need to run the adventure. Inside each one of these, at the beginning, gives you information on a different starship build. At the back, you're going to have additional monsters to add kind of to your collection that you can pull from. So even if you're running a home game or you're running your own story, I still think these, for the price, are really, really good. And the way that Paizo is wanting to continue to give people information about the setting through the adventure paths, I think is really cool. Because instead of buying a $50, $60 book that you got to kind of read through each individual section to learn about the world, you can kind of learn it as you go through these adventure paths. So I'm a big fan of Dead Sons so far. I can't speak on the other ones. They haven't come out yet. But I'm a huge fan of these, and I think that these are a good bang for your buck, especially if you're a new game master to the system and you want to just jump in, you want to run a pre-written adventure. Really, really love these. And the last thing I'll mention is that about these, because other games have these as well, Paizo built their whole company on writing adventures, and I think that continues to show in their product line. I'll leave it at that. Okay, so that's the adventure paths. Now, the last thing in this category that I'm going to recommend that I think are a good bang for your buck and really have a lot of value are the pawn sets. So I have 2 pawn sets, as you can see here. This one is specifically for the Alien Archive, and this is kind of the core pawn set. So here's the deal. If you want to pick up both, it can be a little pricey. It absolutely can. The core rulebook pawn collection, this has a lot of starships in it. It has a lot, and let me show you some of these here. I haven't cracked mine open because I've actually been using a buddy's pawn set when we run games because I wanted to wait until this video so I could show you how they kind of come here, which is kind of just a funny aside. So you get a lot of duplicates here. So you have 2 of these are the android abolitionists, 2 are the android aces, 2 are the android battle mages, and so on and so forth. So androids go from all the way down this whole sheet. This whole sheet is androids right here. And you have a couple of each different art style. I think it's really nice. These can double down for you game masters, not just for your players and for their tokens, but also at the table. And I really, really like that these are duplicated. I hate getting just one of any particular thing. They have several starships down here at the bottom, and then they even have larger starships, which I'm gonna pop these out because I was waiting to do this for this video, and now I don't have to. And so they come out here, and I have these little stands that you can pick up to accompany these. This little bag runs, it has an MSRP of $9.99 for the stands. I picked up 2 extra bags just because I wanted to have them. I have some other things, and I always lose stands in the long run. So these are what you will need if you're going to pick up the core rulebook. Now, you don't need these if you're going to pick up the Alien Archive pawn box, and I'll talk about that here in just a second why. So these are really good. These are really nice. We've been using these, and I've really, really enjoyed them. And most of what's going to be in this, the core rulebook pawn collection, are going to be basically core races and starships. That's what is going to be included in this. And just for the record, the MSRP on this is $24.99. I know for a fact Miniature Market has these for like in the teens. They have a really good steal on these. That kind of gives you an idea of the price range and what the difference between this and the Alien Archive box. Now, let's dive into the Alien Archive box for just a second so you guys can see what I'm talking about. So with the Alien Archive pawn box to accompany the Alien Archive book that we mentioned with Game Masters, this does in fact come with stands as well. And the difference being between these two things, if you're like, okay, what's the difference? These are going to be ships and player characters, and this is going to be the aliens and creatures that you guys see inside this book. Again, they continue to double everything up here. So on the artwork, like, so just real quick, you get 4 of the Anacite Wingbots, 4 of the Apari Constituent, and 4. You get 6 Space Goblins, you get 6 Skittermanders, you get 2 Orocorans, you get, I'm looking here, nothing more than 6. I don't see anything more than 6 Aeon Guards. So a really good mix here, and a lot of creatures that you can use for multiple combatants. This, in my opinion, is a really, really good product. When pawns first started coming out in general in just the tabletop role-playing game scene, I wasn't really a big fan of them. You know, I really enjoyed miniatures. I enjoyed using my minis. And, you know, by the way, you can mix minis with these, no problem. But I wasn't a big fan of the pawns when they first came out. And then I started using them, and I kind of fell in love with them. So they're simple. They can store very easily, and that I love. I love that. You can actually leave them in their sleeves until you're ready to use them to kind of help you with that organization. And overall, I think that the pawn box for the Alien Archive is a really good buy if you're going to be playing face-to-face in person for a long time. Okay, and that actually concludes our last product in this category. So you might be thinking, Cody, you haven't talked about maps and mats and where, you know, what you recommend, because Starfinder does actually have a few of the mats here. And now we're going to get into the kind of nice to have category, and I'm going to explain why. So I've got 2 products here that I'm going to put very specifically in the nice to have, but I wouldn't necessarily recommend it to everybody. The first is the flip mats. Now, here's the deal. I got some thoughts on this and some opinions on this. First off, I want to be very clear that this is the star-filled mat, and I know you probably can't see the grid on here very well in the camera, but this is the Starfinder mat. I'm going to kind of fold it out here. And first off, this 100% does exactly what it says it does, okay? And it has an MSRP, I think, of $20, and I know that you can get this at Miniature Market for like, at the time that I bought this, I think it was like $14 or $13, somewhere $15 right in there. So it's not a huge investment, and it does exactly what it says it's doing. If you are using your pawns on here, then absolutely 100% works. Does exactly what it says it does. I don't recommend this product. This is a nice to have product, and I have a few things on why I don't like it as much as something else. One, I don't like the way it folds. Okay, that's just me. I don't like the way it folds. I'd rather it roll up. It's not thick enough to roll up because it is kind of like a more of a paper product, like a really, really thick poster product. And it will flatten out, no problem. It will work. So that's my first problem. The second problem is that it is so dark that you cannot write on it at all. Nothing you write on it will show up. It is just so dark. It's very pretty. The backside here, let me show you guys the backside. I don't know how much you can see there. You know, it's really pretty. It's got a really nice, I think you can see that pretty well. A nice, pretty seam on the back and kind of set the tone and set the mood for the game. And it works, like I said. But, you know, you can't, if you want to draw asteroids on here, can't do it. If you want to take notes on here, you're just not going to be able to do it. The last thing that why I don't recommend this, and I'm going to recommend something else, is because all you're ever going to be able to use this for is for Starship Combat. That's all you're ever going to be able to use this for. It's very, very, very geared directly towards that. If you're playing maybe Star Wars Edge of the Empire, maybe you could use it there, but that's all you're ever going to be able to use it for. So it's too dark, I don't like the way it folds, and I don't like its versatility. And they have out more maps and more mats than just the Starship Combat one. They have a Starship one, which I wasn't able to get my hands on. It's really nice. I think it has 2 starships, but again, I don't like its versatility there. If that's something that you want to help set the tone for your players, cool. Maybe that's a product that you'll want to pick up. Again, I apologize, I don't have it here in front of me. And then they have a couple more, I think that has like all dirt on one side, like an alien desert planet, and on the back side has, I want to say like a metal floor, kind of like a metal floor, and it's just one big metal floor, and that's it. Those are exactly the same flip mats. And you can write on them, and you can draw on those a lot better than you can draw on the star-filled one. Now, what I recommend instead, if you can manage that you're not going to have the immersion of having like that nice, pretty starship mat laid down, is I recommend this mat that you guys see here right in front of you, which is a Chessex mat. It is much thicker. It's much more costly. It is a better investment by far, in my opinion. On one side, you have your square grid so that you can use this for all of your pawns and draw everything out. You can draw wet erase, not dry erase on here. And then in addition to that, on the back side, you have your hex grids so that you can run all of your Starship Combat on there. And I love this Chessex map. In my opinion, it is the best product of this in this category, period. I love the way it rolls up, and it rolls out nice. You can see it actually goes longer than my table here, which is not a problem. It just kind of can roll down and drape over. It does that on both sides very easily. And it rolls up really, really tightly. And all I use is, I basically told my wife, I said, hey, can I steal a couple of hair scrunchies from you? She said, sure. I roll it up, slap those on the end. It stays very, very nicely. And when I'm ready to use it, I can just unroll it. Great product. Highly, highly, highly recommend it. And also, you can take notes on here. It's bright enough that if you want to, you're writing down people that are taking damage, you can just draw it right there on the mat. And then also, it has more versatility than a lot of the Starfinder flip mats, and that's because, if you're playing Star Wars Edge of the Empire, or you're playing Pathfinder, or you're playing Dungeons and Dragons or whatever game, Warhammer, whatever you're playing, it just has a lot more versatility to it, which is why I love this mat. And I'll put a link down in the description below for where you guys can find that as well. So this is a nice to have product because I just think it gets outshined by the Chessex flip mat. And then finally, the last product that we're going to talk about today here, guys, is a product that I have not used. I just haven't used it. Honestly, I looked at it, I opened it up, I played around with it for a little bit, and I haven't used it to its full potential, and that is the combat pad. So when you get the combat pad, it's got two sides to it. It's got one side which has a nice little initiative tracker and a place to take notes, and then on the back side, you have a starship combat tracker where you can put things in a certain phase. So you can see you have your engineering phase, and then you can take additional notes here on the side as well. And then it shows you your engineering phase, your helm phase, and then your gunnery phase. So, and the way this works is that you get all of these little magnets. These are magnetized. You can see here on the back there are a whole bunch of magnets, and you can write right on it. It says either a dry erase or a wet erase. I haven't tried the dry erase. I've marked it with a wet erase, and yeah, absolutely comes right off. And so you have a couple of arrows down here that keep track of the turn. You have a couple of things here that you can put a bar there for your initiative. And honestly, this is a nice to have. Some people may find it easier to use this than others if they are that type of organized people. The way that I run my games, when I saw this, I want to run this on paper. There are some other things that I want to use, and so, and also I didn't like just how much stuff there was at the table. So that's one of the reasons why I'm going to put this in the category of nice to have. It can be useful if you know that you want to use it and you know that you will use it. But it's not a product that I would put either in the bare bones, you must have this to play the game, or the high value products that I think really, really enhance the game. This is something that is functional, completely works, isn't necessary, but maybe you'll get more use out of it than I will. I really haven't dug into using it. And maybe it's a fair criticism to say, Cody, how could you review the product? You haven't really used it. And that's fair. That's absolutely fair to say. But I haven't used it because when I opened it up, I was like, I don't want to get into this right now. I just want to use my pen and paper. So that's it, guys. There is the buyer's guide for the most of the products that Paizo has out for Starfinder. I know it was kind of a lengthy video, but I really wanted to go into, it's kind of a product review really, as much as anything on what they offer. And hopefully that will clear some things up for you guys so that you guys can go out there, jump in and play some Starfinder, which is a great game, supported by, honestly, a really great company that I think has good vision, has a great direction for art, and is really solid in game design and the way that they support the product. So big fan of Paizo, love Starfinder, and hopefully that will help you guys know where to start. I want to give a huge shout out to all of the kick-ass patrons who helped me make these videos possible over at welcomeadventures.com. Guys, I got a bunch of rewards going on over there, so if you want to support the show, you like what I do, you like the show, you like the magazine, you like the modules, you like the maps, and you want to support what I do here, head over to welcomeadventures.com, and you guys can support the show there and grab some rewards for yourself. If this is your first time here and you love role-playing games as much as I do, or perhaps you will soon, I'd love to have you subscribe. Every week, I put out new videos on GM tips, player tips, tutorials, and more. So if that sounds like something you might be interested in, just hit the subscribe button, like right down there, and come join us. Thank you guys so much for watching. My name is Cody, and may your games be filled with awesome memories and even better friends. I'll catch you guys next time.
Yeah.